And initially they had put bombs around the construction site on both sides of the lane. But you see, lately they have removed those bombs because they have reached a stage of the construction where there was no need for those bombs again. But again, people have now gotten used to driving so fast, across that location, and that is what is also creating the problem, and so on. We've also observed issues around the dispatch riders. A lot of them have been knocked, and we've been having running battles with them, especially, even though we have called them a number of times, their association and their union leaders, to speak to them of the need to imbibe this discipline. You see them running red lights. You see them driving just like the regular Okada that we used to know way back before they were actually sent out of the city center. That is also becoming a challenge, but we as an agency of enforcement, we are not relenting. We've been making arrests of some of them for some of the violations that they just get themselves involved in, and so on. And so we will, as usual, continue to talk to people, because one of the major things we do is to cause people to imbibe self-discipline, on the highways. It's not all the time that you want to be using the big stick, 247 on people. But when they generate that self-discipline, when you have to make them understand that these things we are doing is for your own safety, you needed to enjoy these facilities and not to be used as butcher facilities, so to say. When people imbibe this discipline, they will understand. So, like for instance, use of seatbelts. Some people still don't use seatbelts. I don't understand why. In this particular age and time, people don't understand the use of seatbelts, or even the worst case scenario now lately is the issue of use of phone while driving.
So let me cut you on that. And they give excuses like, oh, when I have seen people, somebody told me a personal experience where the vehicle caught fire and the person died because the seatbelt, you couldn't remove it. So because of
it's 98%. Which one will you take?
The success, obviously.
You will take the success. So yeah, we're not saying that they may not be issues sometimes, maybe once in a while, or isolated issues like that. But nobody is encouraging people not to. That is why globally, auto manufacturers have been mandated, to include that as one of the safety measures. So all of this has been done as a result of research that has been conducted, both globally. And so it's not only in Nigeria that you have cars that have a seat belt. And so you are mandated to wear those seat belts. Those isolated cases you spoke about, is rather unfortunate that those kind of things happened, but it's not very common. And so when you weigh it, you discover that it's better to wear the seat belt than not to wear it at all, because the chances of getting yourself injured or even killed is higher by you not wearing the seat belt. A lot of other people also tell you that seat belts have saved them. Much more people will tell you that seat belts have saved them, So, and then, also we also have these excuses, chances of people, wanting to come up with the excuses simply because they don't want to obey one simple rule or the other. And they don't like it. They don't like it because they're children. They don't understand the importance or the reason why you have to say, okay, don't do A, B, C, and D, because it's going to hurt them. So years later, they will come back to begin to thank you, the same you that they felt didn't like them, for ensuring that you instill those discipline in them. It is like that also with every society.
So let's really, we have seen tremendous improvements on
Yes,
the roads, on
yes.
the new roads actually.
Yeah.
But you're there. They don't follow a particular.
A lot of these things are attitudinal. Even when you drive through roads that are not marked, common sense should tell you that, okay, these roads, they are imaginary lanes they are supposed to actually observe, so that you can avoid running into each other. Even on the marked roads, we've seen people have crashes because there's what they call lane indiscipline. Some people just, can't just obey the rules. You find them weaving through traffic and so on and so forth. So ditto with those ones that you are talking about, where the rules are, where the road markings are getting faded and so on. And I'm sure, having mentioned this, I'm sure the Honorable Minister will take this also very seriously because, like I told you earlier, the new roads that have been constructed, he has ensured that they are constructed to standard, and that includes road markings with new ones. So I'm sure if his attention goes to those areas, I'm sure he will deal with them decisively. But why that we're awaiting those responses or those actions, I want to use this media to appeal to Nigerians to please, when you get to roads where the markings are beginning to be faded, that's the more reason why you needed to be more careful. You needed to go at common sense speed limits. You needed to obey your lane as much as possible, and then ensure that we don't get ourselves distracted. A lot of time, distraction is one of the major reasons why some people run into each other, especially with the use of phone while driving. It has been a very serious challenge, and we've been talking about it. I've visited so many churches, trying to talk about some of these problems that we have. They are actually emerging trends, where people now get glued to their gadgets, and they just don't have the discipline of avoiding maybe calls or even text messages. When you hear a text message enter, you want to look at it and say, okay, so what if it's a bad message? That is going to destabilize you and is not going to be good for you. So that's why we insist that people should try to avoid making or use of their phones while driving. Some people have argued around use of Google Maps. Like I told you, Nigerians will always have 1,000, not only Nigerians, human beings will always want to have 1,001 reasons why they shouldn't obey this rule or shouldn't obey that rule. But generally, for every rule, you have to wait to see the percentage of the advantage it has. When the advantage is more, then, of course, it should be enforced. So that's the way it is with these facilities. Google Maps, we are not saying people should not use them. What we are saying is that when you engage, maybe, for instance, your telephone or your smartphone, and it talks back to you. So there's no need for you to hold it and begin to fiddle with it. That's where the distraction comes. And is it use of phone while driving? Yes, it is. But if you had kept it, it's talking to you. We are not witches and wizards to see that the phone was talking to you. Vehicles now come with those facilities inbuilt in the cars. So it forms part of the dashboard. So the safety component is highly taken care of simply because you are reducing the level of distraction when you keep it safely in a vehicle where you can hear it, the Google speaking back to you and telling you, okay, if you take 100 meters from here, 300 meters, it gives you sufficient warning. And so we must not carry it and look at it to see who is talking or to see, no, you don't need to do that. So that's what we are saying, which is maximize or minimize the level of distraction, because distraction, whether you like it or not, has caused a lot of crashes, even in Abuja here. If you go, even as a person, if you observe any vehicle that's sluggish on a freeway, check out the people. You see they are using their facility, they are using their gadget, and it's becoming rampant every day. But we're arresting them. Of all of the offenses that we arrest every day, use of four-wheel driving is one of the ones we arrest most, and the use of seatbelt. So we're enforcing. We'll continue to enforce until we ensure that at least we record the highest level of success in this.
You know that the removal of this massive are bigger.
Yes.
For those bigger ones, they might really not have issues.
Small one, it is a major issue. What is the road safety doing? It's on the infrastructure that the government are putting in place to make sure that we are safe. What are we doing to make sure that this is not happening? Recurring, yes.
The manhole covers, some street light installations, and maybe some other installations, that they were able to retrieve some of them. And that was done by a joint task force. At that joint task force, FRSC was fully represented on that task force. So that means we are collectively doing something, isn't it? You talked about the fact that if those manhole covers are removed, it poses a lot of danger, for the motorist or for the driver, because some vehicles come with smaller rims, and so they fit into those manholes, and they have jagged ends. So if you come on a speed unsuspecting, the chances are that you may fall into it, and that's going to cause a crash. But for the bigger ones with the bigger rims, of course, they will even pass without even noticing that there was anything. And so, we will continue to support the police and the civil defense and those whose key mandate is to protect these facilities, give them all of the support that they needed to be given, so that together we succeed in this, because it's not a one-man fight. And so we are fully part of the exercise that is ongoing in Joint Task Force. And let me also appreciate the FCT Commissioner of Police for spearheading it, because he is the head of the internal security architecture in the FCT. And so we give him all of the support we needed to give him at our own various levels, to ensure that we have a good driving environment in the FCT. And so those are the things we are doing. And then, of course, we all have responsibility as even Nigerians. When you see something, say something. The security agencies are no witches and wizards. They work with information. And so when you see something, for instance, if you see a crash and then you turn the other way and then you pass, we cannot sense those crashes unless somebody calls 122, for instance. That is our toll-free telephone number that you can call, and it's toll-free. You can call. People are there, whether be it in the night or any time. Or if you can't remember 122, you can remember 112. 112 is national emergency number. They can always connect to us. So once people don't report, I will not get the information on time. And of course, if it has to do with a crash, for instance, the faster we get to the crash scene and then assist the crash victims, the better for the crash victims and every other person plying that road. So we use this to also appeal to Nigerians that when you see something, you say something. We are all residents of Abuja, and we take responsibility for all the infrastructure that have been fitted. When you see people vandalizing a facility, don't say, it doesn't concern me. It concerns all of us. What goes around comes around. So we use this media to also appeal to people to report to the appropriate authorities when you see any such thing happening, on our streets.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us